Give me 1 second. Hey, everybody. This is Richard, and this is the very third session of Gaunt Marches, and this is the second group of awesome players that we have going through the Gaunt Marches. This is an ongoing Dungeon World campaign that the Gauntlet has started, or that members of the Gauntlet have started, and the brainchild of Spencer Paskett, and also including myself and Jim Crocker and Horst Wurst as GMs, and hopefully recruiting more GMs as time goes on. We'll be starting kind of with introduction to these brand new characters, and get a chance to know who they are. This is my first time playing with these characters, and so I'm going to be taking a lot of notes and asking a lot of questions. So the first big portion of this session will be all about notes and questions. But let's start with just character introductions, and for that, I'm going to start with Jeremy. I'm going to kind of go left to right in our character keeper. I'm going to start to Jeremy, who is playing Brother Galleon. Jeremy, could you introduce us?
What's that?
Could you go ahead and introduce us to Brother Galleon? Tell us a little bit about, like,
oh yes,
class.
I was interested in. You'll notice it's a reskin of the fighter. It was actually done by Sage Latora, and the other name is escaping me at the moment. Where they were trying to demonstrate that the core classes for Dungeon World could represent a bunch of different sorts of things with some fictional repositioning. Anyway, so it's actually a fighter, but it's positioned in sort of like a D&D monk character, only I'm not going for the sort of Asian flavor with it. Back years and years and years ago, I played Dark Age of Camelot, the MMO, and there was a class in there that was called the Friar, which was basically like a medieval style monk who did math. I thought that was cool, and that's what Brother Galleon is. So mechanically he's a fighter, but he's not tied specifically to a weapon and armor. And I don't know a whole lot about him. I'm going to figure that out as we go along. Richard, you're actually muted.
Thank you. One thing we did that's different from the average Dungeon World build or play style is, instead of bonds, we're using a mechanic called flags that gives people sort of a chance to indicate how they want other players to sort of engage with their character, or other characters to engage with their character. Could you tell us a little about Brother Galleon's flags?
Yeah, they're kind of a last minute me trying to figure out.
And Jeremy, I think you froze up just there for a second. I think we lost you right in the middle. And while Jeremy gets back on, or kind of unfreezes, Jeremy, you there? Yeah.
What's that?
You're back. You froze up there for a second.
Oh, I apologize.
No worries.
I don't know how much you heard.
You just started and then you cut out, and then you sort of cut out for a second. Sorry.
That's all right. Actually, trying to figure out sort of the more personal aspect of the character is something I haven't quite figured out yet, and I was going to kind of let it establish and play. My initial idea was that he, at least on first blush, is the sort of like disciplined monk, serious guy who, does not suffer fools easily.
Oh, nice. All right.
We're going to get along so well, you and I.
And with that, and Kat, you send me the pronunciation, and it's not open in front of me, unfortunately. Is it Breda?
So I will offend any of our Swedish listeners of the Gauntlet, but it should be Brida Hjalmarsdottir.
Awesome. Okay.
I will take Brida. Brida is fine. And for our Swedish listeners, yes, I know what it means. and it's body positive. And no, I'm not going to tell you. Look it up. Brita is a paladin, but she's kind of more of a monastics type paladin. She used to be a fighter of some kind. The picture I found for her is probably her from 10 years ago. She did some bad things, which I don't know exactly what are yet, but they were bad enough that she decided to give it all up and enter an extremely strict order. And that's what she does. She doesn't like violence, but she's not even wearing her armor that's in her pack. But she's got a big stick, and she's good with it. So.
Awesome. I think this is a question both for Brita and for Brother Galleon. When you talk about orders or you talk about monasticism, are these dedicated to particular gods, or are they dedicated to particular principles? And I know that's different for each of you, but I'll let both of you kind of talk about that.
I'm pretty sure Brita's is more of a principle philosophy type thing. There's some strict oaths that are sworn.
Galleon, what about you?
I actually don't know yet. I would like it to be something quirky, some sort of quirky, bizarre religion, but I don't have a good idea of what it is yet. I don't think it's going to be fantasy Catholicism.
Great. Okay. We're going on to, and then again, please correct me if I mispronounce anything. Stephen, Yon.
Yep. So she is a witch. She does not, look like your typical crone character. She wears quite nice clothing. Has keeps herself looking sharp and clean, but she kind of revels in the juxtaposition of wearing fine clothes and drinking fine wine while also rooting around in the entrails of animals for divination. She also has a familiar, which is a millipede. It's a rather large millipede that kind of snakes around her body, and she kind of uses that to leverage this kind of creepy factor. Sometimes it ferrets itself away and somewhere on her body, and then at other times she can kind of call it out so it sort of crawls in and out of her mouth while she's talking to people to kind of freak them out.
Great. Awesome. And you answered my one sort of immediate question, if you're familiar. And Dylan, tell us about Steeder.
So Steeder is a ragged young man burdened down with trash and salvage. He's the inheritor of a long tradition, a family tradition, of swearing that one of these days it's pronounced slough. The slough, is that right?
I generally say slough.
Slough, right. So Steeder and Steeder's parents and their parents before them have all gone around with their noses in the air claiming that they'll be the ones to dig something really special out of the slough one day. And as soon as he does, he's out of here and he's leaving this yokel town behind, which does not endear him to the inhabitants much. So he's well known mostly as a big talking salvager, always covered with the latest artifacts and garbage.
Steeder, I think some time ago, and you can tell me when it was as well as what it was, you found something that you knew was valuable, but no one seemed willing to spend money on. What was that?
It was the banner of an old army. And although it's just a rotted piece of cloth now, to Steeder, it's a clue that at some point, some enormous emblazoned army rode out into these lands only to disappear. And if he can find that stash of forgotten arms and armor, he's sure that that'll be the cash that he needs to walk away from here.
What one piece of heraldic imagery stood out to you from this banner? You don't have to give me the full description. Just kind of what was the emblem that like you were like, oh wow.
Well, how about on the one extant piece that he's managed to find? There's some kind of torn. There's some kind of tear so that you can't see what the claw belongs to, but there's a claw shooting out and grabbing a serpent around the throat.
A claw grabbing a serpent. That's awesome. Thank you. And then over to the right of there, we have Raven. And tell us about Raven, please, Carl.
So, Raven is a masked mage, really good at deceiving people and taking on personas, all of that stuff. So, broad strokes, what I'm imagining is that Raven is searching for a lost loved one who we got correspondence from and was here and has disappeared. And so he has weaseled his way into some sort of organization by impersonating a person in it. I don't know what that organization is, but something that would facilitate him traveling a lot so that he can carry on this search.
What is tell me about the organization just roughly. You don't have to name it.
Yeah,
like in rough categories, is it a political group? Is it some sort of religious group? Is it a criminal group gang?
No, maybe a political.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's like, some official who has to go, I don't know, check up on things or travel about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is the person you're impersonating a real person, and if so, are they still alive?
Yeah, they are alive. So Raven is also will resort to violence if needed, but prefers not to. And so after a bit of scouting, he found this person who just wanted an easy life. So they talked and agreed to this. So this person is off in hiding. Raven's probably sending them money on a periodic basis and like has them set up somewhere.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So let's get to some questions, some heavier questions. I think everybody had a chance to look at my basic question document. I just didn't want, since there are going to be some of them might require a little musing, so I wanted you guys to see them in advance. This is a question I have for each of you, and I think I'm going to start with Raven and kind of snake back because you've already answered a little bit of this. So I'm going to kind of snake back and hit a few things. Let's scratch this. An unused scratch piece of paper. Goat Bridge is the northernmost stop on the old Eelton Road. And it sounds like, Raven, you might be from Eelton-by-the-Sea. It's kind of the political center of the region. And so I'm guessing you're not from Goat Bridge. Or are you originally from Goat Bridge, traveled away, and came back in disguise?
That we're currently in Goat Bridge.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, not from here. I think probably my last correspondence came from here, and so it's just like my.
What lured you? What lured you to here?
that lead, you know, it was like a letter from a loved one, and it was like cryptic. It was like as though everything was normal, but with like subtle cues that only I would pick up.
Was a loved one in the region, or was a loved one concerned about something from the region?
I think the loved one had traveled to the region on some sort of scheme, and then presumably things went awry.
Okay. Is that loved one safe and known to you today, or are they missing?
Missing, I think. Yeah.
So, have you been here months or years?
Yeah, I would say months.
Okay. Roll a d10 for me.
Yes, I would love to. Oh, I may have rolled a d12.
Did you get a number under 10?
I did. I got a 7.
All right. So you've been here about 7 months. What's the biggest frustration in your search?
I think it's like just the bureaucracy of what I've gotten myself tied into. Like, I think they keep like sending me back to these same locations to like do stuff, and I'm like, no, I've already searched there. Like, that's not the place, but I have to keep up the appearance, and that's
right. So there's a bureaucracy to your cover identity that's kind of like limiting your mobility
and facilitating it.
Giving you some deference from the locals. What do the locals know you as?
What do the locals know me as? Like some standard title, like an envoy of like the envoy.
Can you give me a name?
Yeah, okay, let's go with the name. It's like I don't know. Robert. I am Robert.
Robert the Envoy?
The Envoy. There we go.
All right. I'll have some more questions for you momentarily. But let's come back to Cedar. Cedar, are you from Goat Bridge or not? Originally? Like before you came here to look for stuff in the slough, are you from Goat Bridge, or did you come here specifically to hunt for artifacts? And that's directed at Steeder.
Sorry, I missed the first half of that question.
Oh, no worries. Did you come here in order to, or Steeder, did you come here in order to hunt for artifacts, or were you born here? And apologies if I missed it, if you'd said that before and I missed it.
No, that's fine. I'd envisaged him being a well-known sight around here, not from any place in particular, but a well-known denizen that you'd see him poking in the muck and carrying stuff around, selling it from place to place, and everyone would sort of recognize him and see, oh, there's Steeder.
Okay.
But no one, I don't think there's anyone who would call him a neighbor.
Okay. And we know what keeps you here. You're really waiting for the big break. What's one time you actually left?
I went to the big city clutching that little piece of heraldic fabric to see if a fancy scribe or librarian could give me some clues about which army it belonged to, but none of them had ever seen its like. So, of course, I cursed them as out-of-touch city dwellers who don't know anything about the true secrets and mysteries of the swamp.
Awesome. Could you give me a D8 roll?
Potentially. Let me see if I can figure out this.
But feel free to just grab dice if you have them at hand, or you can use the die roller. But generally, like for the die roller, just the little box to the left of the number. Yep, you got it. Well, it looks like you got it.
Somewhere. There it is. Yeah. Okay, so that's an 8.
All right, awesome. So Steeder, has it been 8 days, 8 years, 8 months, or 8 weeks since the last time you thought about just packing it in and leaving?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah, he almost never thinks about quitting. 8 years was just when his last parent died.
Oh, wow.
For a long moment he thought about whether he'd inherited a foolish quest, but the thought soon passed.
Thank you. Let's go back to Yon.
So I'm not from here. I think it makes sense that I'm from Eelton as well.
Awesome.
I have been making my living divining and creating potions for wealthy people, but I think I travel here a lot as it's quite a fertile area with the swamp and the river valley there. So I think there's a lot of apothecary ingredients. So I make frequent trips to this, inland to gather ingredients, which is what has brought me here at this time.
Okay. Could you give me a D10 roll?
Looks like a 4.
So
no, an 8. Sorry, 8.
Oh, awesome. Okay. 8 months is a bit. What's going on in Eelton that you don't want? You've been hesitating to return.
Yeah. So I think I came here for the last time I came here. I came to get a very rare ingredient that would help a member of the criminal underground there fake her death so that she could get out of some rather sizable debt that she had gotten herself into. And an opposing criminal faction caught word of it. So I think I've been hiding out here, kind of scared to go back.
Wow. That's awesome. And Brita, you've been around for a while, but have you been around Goatbridge a while?
I don't think I've been in town very long, but I think I did pass through here in my youth when I hunted the world. Well, not for, but with steel.
Right. Awesome. So you think maybe months? Most recent trip?
If you mean before I became a paladin, it's probably years.
Okay.
If you mean in the area, I might have been here as long as a month, I think.
Okay. Let's roll a D12 for days.
Nice. There we go. 2.
So you got to town 2 days ago, but you're not unknown to the locals, and you clearly know people. What brought you here?
I am pretty sure that the order demanded I leave our cloister, go out back into the world, which I was not particularly happy about. I think they're looking into what happened to Swineford.
We will come back to momentarily. And finally, Galleon. The good brother Galleon. How long have you been in Goatbridge?
I think I'm actually just passing through.
Okay.
Is there going to be some sort of inciting incident that throws us all together? Or do we need to have a reason?
My assumption will be most of you know each other.
Okay.
Though it doesn't necessarily have to be that you've all been living in the same town. You're all fairly experienced travelers. There's lots of places you may have met and encountered each other.
I think I'm actually passing through town on the way to another location, another site for my order.
What would be the job that you're on?
What's that?
What would be the job you're on?
I think there's another mentor that I'm supposed to go and study under, and I'm on my way to the cloister or whatnot where she teaches.
Cool.
I think maybe recognizing our kind of combined martial and religious background, maybe I struck up a conversation with Brita somewhere.
And we'll kind of work out how you guys know each other, but I'm gonna assume that for the most part, the majority of you know the rest of the majority of you. But again, this is a big region, and this is a moderately small region. So there's lots of places you could have run into each other. But we'll come to that in a moment. Swinford. Brita mentioned that, so I'm going to start with Brita. Last year on the spring solstice, the beautiful stone village of Swineford, or Swinford, was reclaimed by the marsh and became a half-sunken ruin. Or at least that's what you found, or that's what people found in the morning. Very few escaped, and very few bodies were found. Starting with Brita, add one detail. From that list. If you were ever stuck for anything during questions, you can also ask me for a random rumor that you can then try to,
Okay.
You're asking for the random rumor?
No, I've got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
So a survivor was found wandering in the swamps. What three-word detail do they remember that night? And it was find Brita Halmersdottir.
And who was that survivor?
Oh, let's just crank this up to 11. The orphan child of someone I killed in a raid.
Do you have a first name for her? Or
Yeah, let's give her a name. Meg. Margaret. Maggie.
Any idea where she is now?
No, I think that's one of the things I'm trying to find out.
Yon, what's a detail you know about a strange fall and disappearance of
Swineford?
Swineford.
Yeah, the building that never sank was a library. Not a massive library like Alexandria. It was actually quite small, but it contained some very rare, very esoteric books that people would make pilgrimages to read, and it's the only building still standing.
How many of the books were still there when people went to check?
All the books were still there. Miraculously, not only are they still there, but they seem to not be, as the building itself is kind of reclaimed by the swamp. The books remain relatively undamaged.
What was strangely missing from the library that wasn't a book?
The librarian. This was a person who had been at the library for longer than anyone should be alive, and you wouldn't think that someone who had devoted lifetimes to protecting the library would be missing, but they are gone.
Nice. Awesome, awesome. And Steeder, what's one detail about the missing village of Swineford, or the sinking village of Swineford, that was reported?
Well,
and you were in town when this happened, so.
Right. So the evening before, a strange and unseasonal mist had crept in from the low places and the rivers and the deeps, and had blanketed the whole slough. And when it disappeared the next morning, that's when people noticed the missing village.
Why do you suspect it can't just be the mist?
Nothing's ever lost in the slough. It's got to be there somewhere, just covered up, waiting for a smart fella like me to come find it. Gone's just unnatural. Things are never gone. They're just buried.
Raven. Choose a detail to add to the missing village of Swineford. And again, anytime you guys are stuck, feel free to ask for a rumor and integrate that into your response.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do
awesome.
a rumor.
So there's a self-proclaimed godling in the swamps who promises to bestow blessings on anyone who brings them gifts. You've heard that is the extent of what you've heard. There's someone roaming around, someone or something roaming around pretending to be a godling.
Yeah, so I've heard that when people enter into a deal with that person, and don't quite live up to the end of their bargain or their interpretation of that, bad things usually follow.
So do you think that that's what happened to Swineford?
That's my best guess. Yeah.
What one thing do you know that makes that not completely satisfactory as a guess? It's still your best guess. But what do you know that makes you sort of doubt that?
Yeah. Maybe there was, a fake colleague of mine, like another person in the same organization, who was in Swineford and is missing. And maybe like we're all very well versed in this wandering individual. So like had that been the case, like that person would have known to get out. That's like following or protocol, steer clear. So like, yeah, something doesn't quite add up there.
So one of the envoys in Swineford should have gotten out.
Yeah, and had it been that rumor or linked to that rumor, like they would undoubtedly have.
And then Galleon. Please choose a detail to add from that question list.
All right. I'm going to leave my video off because I'm having some connectivity issues.
No worries. No worries.
Can I get a rumor as well?
Sure. You have to switch screens just a second. There's a clan called the Steelshod clan that's somewhere to the west of town. And there's a rumor that they've been selling magic weapons.
Ooh.
And how does that tie into what happened in...
The Steelshod clan, they're selling magic. You said they're from nearby. Where did you say they were relative?
They're somewhere to the west, somewhere near Alameen.
Okay, well,
according to the rumors, this is all just rumor mill stuff.
Yeah. I think the rumor has it that there was a sale that either went down or was going to go down or something like that, of something that they had come upon and that they were selling to an undisclosed buyer in what's it called? Swineford. Around the time that the town sank. And whatever this thing was, this was something beyond like the normal scope of what these guys deal in. And some people think it might have had something to do with what happened.
Wow. Okay. So what's one detail you know of, well-traveled clergy folk person that you are, that suggests to you, it doesn't prove definitively, that gives you a little bit of doubt that the Steelshod clan was not involved in this?
That they were not involved in this?
Or that they were more innocently involved? One or the other.
Are they, like, what sort of group are they? Are they like a, or do
really just a, yeah, that's, I mean, it's a, from what you've heard, there's some sort of wandering tribe that came from in the loose sense of the word tribe or clan that came via Eelton several years ago and settled into the marshlands, and have been wandering around from village to village, sort of making their living.
Okay.
They've lost their homeland. May have lost their sort of tribal center or their clan center, but they've been wandering sort of traveler style to sort of make their living.
Honestly, my impression of them is that, they have a reputation for selling magic weapons, but most of their magic weapons are either kind of like duds or fakes or like cleverly disguised cursed weapons, like that they're magical and they can pass them off as magical, but people don't realize that they're getting something that's actually cursed. And so the idea that they would have something to do with this ultra powerful weapon that people think what this was being sold just doesn't accord with like their usual level of goods that they deal in.
Awesome. All right. So the last for each of you question I've got, I'm going to start with Yon. Yon, you know most of these other people, and we'll define sort of what most means in a bit. And so I'm going to put these loosely under the category of friends. What question do you wish your friends would ask you?
I wish they would ask me about my familiar rather than just being completely weirded out by it, because I'm quite, connected to it in a way. It's like an extension of my body, and the fact that it makes people uncomfortable, I use to my advantage. But for people who have like gotten to know me a little bit, I wish they could understand my connection to it in the way that I do.
Awesome. Raven, what question do you wish your friends would ask?
I think Raven is a little sick of, or a little bored of the persona he's been taking on for quite a while. So I think questions I would like people to ask. Like, I would like to get the impression that somebody sees through it somehow. Not in like a confrontational way, but like somebody I could drop the act with or whatever. Stop pretending to be this envoy.
Raven, of the other characters, who do you think suspects or knows that you're in disguise? They may not know your true identity, but they suspect or know that you are not who you say you are.
Sure. I mean, probably Yon.
I think that makes sense given my ability to, divine and communicate with spirits, so to speak. So yeah, I think that definitely makes narrative sense.
Cool.
Great. Yon, and this question is both for Yon and Raven. Yon, what is the, is it delight, annoyance, acceptance, or curiosity that you think that Raven is probably picking up from you?
Probably curiosity. I quite like anyone who, I fancy myself a bit of a shyster and a con artist. So, I'm perfectly willing to sell people potions that do exactly what it says it's meant to do. But I also have no problem just selling them sugar water and telling them it'll cure their boils. So I think it's just curiosity that I feel like we're kind of kindred spirits in that we're both not always who we appear to be.
Nice. Thank you. Raven, which of the other characters do you think you would like to tell, but haven't gotten up the courage yet?
Let's go with Steeder. Just being like a super well-traveled person.
Okay.
If I could drop the act and feel safe, he's probably seen a lot of things, and with a good conversation, maybe I would catch on to a good lead. But
sure, and maybe I'm a little leery of you. Like, if I'm not careful, you'll hit me with some kind of fine or tax, or report me to the authorities for something I shouldn't have dug up.
Right.
Yes. Steeder, let's come back and get you. What question do you wish your friends would ask?
Literally any question. Steeder gets up every morning with this very well-developed fantasy that people are going to line up for his expertise. But luckily he is, or unluckily, he is such a weird and idiosyncratic person that everyone assumes that everything he does just works for Steeder and no one else could do it. So he sits around patiently waiting to be asked, Steeder, can I eat this? Steeder, what's that thing? Steeder, what road does that go to? And no one ever asks.
Oh. Rita, what question do you wish your friends would ask?
How can I help?
Lovely. And Galleon, what's one question you wish people would ask?
Gosh. I think Galleon wishes people would stop asking questions because so many questions are foolish. I think they would. I think you would prefer that people ask the question of what are the questions that you should be asking instead of all these stupid ones that they actually do ask.
So we have two more question categories, and then we'll go to break, and then we'll start doing a few scenes. I'd like everyone to pick one from which one of you was it, and one from connections. And give you just a second to look at those. And then I think I have not picked on Raven. I don't think I've started with you yet. Pick one from each cluster. Which one of you was it? And connections.
Who told you about the snake folk of the swamp?
Okay.
It was probably like some local
Okay.
at a bar.
All right. What's the loud person's name?
Let's go with Tom. He's,
Old Tom, young Tom.
Middle-aged to olderish Tom.
Right. Which nickname does Tom have though? I mean, in a village, everybody's going to be Old Tom or Young Tom.
Right. He's gonna be Old Tom.
All right. What's Tom's relationship to Young Tom?
Maybe like mentor / apprentice. Maybe they're
Right. Okay.
Is there some sort of like? Yeah.
All right.
Whatever.
So Old Tom, what did he tell you about the snake, or what noble cause do you say the snake folk had?
What noble cause? Snake folk noble. So maybe they are said to be said to work very hard through like sneaky ways to keep the peace and to keep from wars from breaking out, like to try to keep everything as peaceful and trade flowing. They probably have to do it covertly though, because they're snake folk and
Right.
that's freaky.
If you go to them for assistance, what did Tom tell you that they're going to ask for?
Oof. Probably some blood. like not lethal blood, but they probably take some blood, and you're not really sure why or for what ends.
It's clearly got some ritual purpose, though.
Likely, yeah.
I mean, not necessarily some cruel, vicious ritual, but it's got some deep cultural, symbolic meaning to them.
Yeah.
Brita, could you choose a question? And actually, sorry, Raven.
Yep.
Your connection question.
Mm.
Who are you connected to, do you think?
I
mean, you're probably connected to several people, but you only need to pick one for right now.
Sure. Like one of the other players.
One of the other characters.
And
then pick one of those questions to answer.
So, would I be right to assume, like, Brita, you have like a purpose, right? Like, are things like you're on a mission from an order? Did I catch that right? Or
yeah, and also do good and sacrifice in the name of truth and justice. That sort of stuff.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah, I think I envy that about Brita, just because it feels I think to Raven everything's a whole lot of gray, and there's a lot of like, what should I do sort of questions going through their head, but to have like a clear answer is enviable.
Brita, does that sound about right to you?
It sure sounds like that's what people think. So yeah.
All right. Rita, we'll go to you next. One of those questions, and then somebody among the other characters that you have a envy, respect, or incomprehensibly charming response to.
I think I was looking in the bogs of the Everslaw for Meg, the little girl. Did I lose something in the mire? Yeah, my way, and I didn't. That seemed peculiar to me. Did I almost die alone? I did almost die, but it wasn't alone.
Who was with you?
I found an old hermit who gave me who lit a fire and gave me some water, and that kept me alive. And as all mysterious swamp hermits vanished before the morning. Damn swamp hermits. And when a pale jeweled hand reached up to help me, I did accept it. But I don't think I learned anything from it. I don't remember much about that at all, as a matter of fact. And I think I'll just do obvious answer is obvious. I respect Brother Galleon as a fellow clergy person. I mean, I think she's got some kind of lay order, but
right.
We're both religious.
Nice. Okay. Galleon, pick a question, and we will the answer there.
But you want me to start with the connections or the which one of...
Start with the which one of you was it question. You can repeat a question if you like, and then we'll do the connection second.
Oh, I think I'm back.
Oh, sorry.
Did I cut it?
No, I just couldn't understand what the last thing you said. So.
Oh, I hardly had said anything. I was asking the question, which I think it messes up when I switch between windows.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want me to answer the which one of you was it question?
Yeah, answer that first. So answer that one first, and then we'll look at the connection you have.
Okay. You fell asleep with someone last night who wasn't there when you awoke. Who was it? Why did you not expect them to leave? I think that there is. I think that there was somebody else from my order who was traveling with me, going to the same destination, and I didn't expect them to disappear because we were on the same journey. What did I see when I woke that told you that they did not leave your side willingly? I think their little codex of our order's beliefs and sort of scriptural readings, which was a well-worn personal copy, was still there, and I know they wouldn't have left that behind.
What is your order called? That book? The Book of Faith, the Book of Prayers.
I think our order worships the god of basically like of martial discipline or something. Once there was like this war between the gods and the forces of chaos, and the gods were trying to fight them, and but they like just did not have their shit together. And until our god Orestes like basically helped them to act as an organized unit. And he had, so our scriptures are sayings attributed to him called the Book of Marshal Precepts.
And I can tell you right now that I have terrible handwriting, so I will recognize the M and the P, and then have to ask you that again. So I apologize in advance. But that's awesome. That's really, already have Orestes down. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your connection to at least one of the other people? Or one of the other characters? But no, sorry. Quick question: who is missing? What's the name of the missing person?
Talon.
Talon. That's good.
Talyn.
Nice. Okay. When in doubt, put a Y in. All right. So now, what's your connection to at least one of the other player characters?
Sorry, every time I look at this, it kind of messes me up. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, good. I'm going to go for the obvious one. What do I respect about? And I'm going to target Brita. But like specifically, I can tell that she has kind of a rough past and is obviously trying to be better and that's something that my order really values is self-improvement. And it's not just about like being both members of religious orders. It's about the fact that she is basically whipping herself into better shape.
Rita, does that sound right to you?
Oh yeah, no, he got her pegged perfectly.
Perfect. All right. I guess I will go to Yon. Yon, I have a question off the. Which one of you was it? And then we'll talk about your connection after that.
Okay. A young person has come to town seeking odd jobs. They have given the name Hamza, and they have been sleeping at one of the taverns in town, doing odd jobs. The question they have coyly evaded is anything specific about their background, where they're from, what they're doing in town. They just give non-committal answers that they're just passing through trying to make some coin. And what is striking about their look is that they will often be wearing either wearing like leather gloves or have soot or soil on their hands to deliberately cover up a mark that is on one of their hands.
What are Hamza's pronouns?
He.
All right. And last but definitely not least, Steeder. Grab a question off the.
Wait, did you get a connection question from Yon?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I think I have respect for Steeder. I think maybe the way Steeder and I know each other is that as a dungeoneer, he often comes out of dungeons and places with relics and artifacts that maybe he needs a middleman to sell for. So given my connection to criminal underground and nobility, I often fence these things for him.
That sounds good to me.
Thank you. And last but not least, Steeder.
I had such a good thing worked out for the young person coming to town.
You can use that again, too.
That I could, because I was frantically trying to come up with something new, and nope. So a young person has come to town seeking odd jobs. Actually, a pair of young people, children, really, like 8 or 9 years old. They identify themselves as Morning Star and Evening Star, and the odd jobs that they've got, they always bring really interesting and weird salvage and herbs, the kind of thing that Steeder sells when he can find it. But almost all the things they bring are really tough to get. Like you've got to go into these really deep groves, or it's like shells from this one particular part of the beach that you've got to climb down rocky strips to. So Steeder's never seen these kids. He just keeps arriving in town after Morning Star and Evening Star have been there, and finding that they've blown out the market for whatever it was that he was really hoping to make some money off of. What question did they coyly evade? They evade offers of lodging. They arrive after dark, and they're always gone soon after that, and no one's chasing them out into the darkness to find out where they leave. And what's so striking about their look is that they're always clean. For 2 little kids who are wandering out in the bogs and fens all night and harvesting stuff, they come into town after sunset every day with not a drop of mud on them, and they leave equally clean.
Nice. Fantastic. Thank you.
And then my connection thing, again, in a weird parallel with Stephen. I'm going to say that Steeder respects Yoni because a witch, I mean, no one's ever going to chase a witch out when things are bad. That's a useful set of skills. Steeder wishes he had that kind of um, usefulness.
I like it.
All right. So we're an hour and a half in. We're going to end a little before 10, just so we won't do an involved debrief. I don't do roses and thorns, but I do kind of basic stars after each session. And then we'll get about an hour of sort of basic scenes in. And let's come back at 10 before the hour. So if you're in Eastern time at 8:50, but otherwise 10 till the hour.
Okay.
Hey, Richard. You're muted.
When I tried to unmute, I kept hitting the invite people to the conversation button.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how precise my mouse movements are sometimes. Yes.
I was wondering if there would be any objection to me starting on a quest since I seem to have a mission.
I think, yeah, that sounds about right.
So, discover the truth of what happened to, what's its name?
Swineford?
Yeah.
And missing young Meg, I think, is part of that
Yep.
mission, too.
Absolutely. So freedom from hunger, thirst, and sleep seems to just make sense. I'm not sure about the unnerving sense of direction. I mean, that could make sense, but it sounds like we all know kind of how to find it.
You know how to find the ruins of Swineford. Yeah.
I mean, the thing that would be interesting is the senses that pierce lies, which would seem to be on point, but I do not want to step all over Raven.
Oh no, go for it.
Okie dokie. All right, so what do I have to do, Richard?
To tell you what vow or vows are required of you to maintain your blessing.
I mean, it's a trick question. I was pretty much keeping all those anyway.
Yeah. You're on a quest to find the truth, which I think means that you may not tell lies.
That makes sense to me. I like it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think
Thank you.
I think the other vow, though, since you're in a strange, given your background, I think let's go for hospitality. We may have to like play around with how to interpret that, but given Brida's background, I think that makes sense.
Hell, given my alignment, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That works.
But, yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Sure thing. Any other sort of openings out of the gate moves that seem to make sense? So otherwise, I think we're going to start. Those of you who know Galleon, and Galleon, Jeremy, are you back?
I am. I'm just
Okay.
invisible.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Totally fine. I totally. That's. Don't stress that. I just wanted to. I didn't want to like start asking you questions if you were not sitting down yet. Galleon, how early do you normally rise, and why do you get up that early?
Oh,
assume that, about the time sun comes up, the bells start. A bell starts going off periodically.
Yeah. I mean, I normally am up by 4:30, and there are certain like chants or rotes that we recite,
Okay.
and we basically do katas or whatnot, do like physical training,
Right.
and then meditate.
So you have spiritual and physical exercises that you need
Yeah.
to do. So this is the morning that you wake up, and you don't hear a bell when you wake up. You know you've heard bells, but you've lost a sense of how much time has passed since you've heard the bell. You do know the sun is up, and it is well into the sky. It is up, it's well into the sky. Talon is gone. His book is there. Are his other belongings there, or is it just his book?
It's just the book. That's what's so weird about it.
So visibly you can quickly see that Talon is gone, and that you have slept well into the morning.
Yeah.
Where is everyone else at the by the time the fourth or fifth bell of the day passes after sunrise or sunset? So that's sunrise. That's the word. That's the after daybreak.
Yeah.
Where's the rest of you after 4 or 5 hours after daybreak?
I'm definitely asleep. I have no cause to get out of bed before I desire to.
All right, Yon is still in bed. What's some of the few things that gets Yon out of bed early?
Possibility to make money, but other than that, yeah, I probably had too much wine last night, so I'm sleeping in.
Are you staying at the local inn?
Yeah, I spend my money pretty freely.
Okay.
So I'm staying in a room that's probably even a bit nicer than it has any right to be for my actual station in life. I like to present myself as being quite a bit wealthier than I am, but I'm actually living kind of job to job.
Are you aware of a hangover yet?
Nope, pretty sound asleep.
All right. Okay. Raven, what about you? 4 to 5 hours into the day, or 4 to 5 hours after daybreak, where are you in the average day?
4 to 5 hours.
And it's summer, so the sun is coming up pretty early.
Right.
Pretty crazy early. So it's still a good time. It's a good amount of time before noon. Roughly about 8:30, maybe 9.
Sure.
No one has a watch, so.
Yeah, I think Raven has already been up for a while, had like a nice breakfast, ate lots of toast and drank lots of coffee or tea.
Nice.
Probably went out and did like a little bit of official work, and now he's like having his first break. So he's probably back at the inn.
We chose. I'm trying to going back through notes. Does Robert own a watch? I mean, most people in the village do not own a watch, but Robert's from Eelton and works in official capacities.
Yeah, probably. He's probably got a watch.
All right. So you actually know. Yeah, it's roughly 8:30. I mean, it's been a while since you had anybody you could set your watch against, but you've been winding it. It looks like roughly 8:30. What work have you been trying to look like you're doing?
Yeah, probably just like checking on like merchants in the market, making sure they have all like their right paperwork. Probably like walks around and like talks to one or two, but like just puts on the appearance.
How The market's close to the inn. How close is it? Half a block right out the door.
Yeah, maybe like a block away.
Okay. What buildings are between the inn and the market?
Maybe like a town hall of sorts, like a.
Awesome. And where has Raven been staying for the past few months, years, under Robert's identity?
Yeah, there's probably like a house in town that whatever organization has for people to use while they're going about business.
Nice. Brito, where are you at 8:30, roughly 8:30 in the morning?
Well, since
you're
I'm
about to set on a quest. You're planning a quest.
I don't need to sleep while I'm on quest, but I do sort of trance out for several hours at night. So I'm not staying at any inn. But I've been doing work for a blacksmith.
Okay.
He lets me sleep. He lets me sleep in his shop, and in the morning I get up and light the forge for him, and work the bellows to get it hot. And then at sunrise, I make my simple prayer to the light of the sun, and I say prayers to the fire, which burns like truth, while I light the forge. So it's kind of on point for me.
Nice. So you've reached the point in the day where you've bellowed the fire, and are you coming to like a quiet part where the blacksmith's at work, or are you doing work too?
I think I'm at a quiet part, and I'm going to start and go and do my rounds around town to see what I can find out.
And what information are you specifically looking for as you do your rounds?
I've only been here 2 days. I'm probably still interviewing people about Meg, the missing.
Ah, yeah.
And I won't lie because I can't. That right. I do like to see Brother Galleon in the morning and pass a few pleasant words with him. I mean, as pleasant as Rita gets.
You would note that Galleon and Talon are not awake or have not come out of their rooms.
Interesting.
Wherever it is they're staying. And we'll establish that in a moment. Steeder, it's 8:30 in the morning. What is Steeder up to?
8:30 is the middle of my day. I've been up since before dawn, out into the marsh twice already. Getting, I don't know, the kind of whelks that only wake up at 3 in the morning, and then the kind of eels that only come out at 6 in the morning, or something ghastly.
Right.
But, I'm on a break right now. Got my feet up in the marketplace, drinking a cup of herbal tea, just
nice.
Gossiping with the other scavengers and the folks who sell my wares or that resell the stuff that I bring in. So I'm in the mood to be sociable. I'm hanging out, somewhere where I can look up and down the main streets, and as soon as I see someone who can't escape, I'm going to attach myself to them like a limpet.
Do you primarily try to sell the stuff do you primarily just use the stuff you find for yourself, or do you try to sell to merchants, or do you try to sell directly to people kind of on the side?
Oh, I sell almost exclusively the second option.
Okay.
Yeah, the amount of time that I spend in the swamp is way more than I would need for subsistence. And my interest in being in town, other than chatting to people, is pretty much zero. So I show up with, big bushels of whatever I've yanked out of the swamp. I find a couple of merchants who'll give me a few coppers for it. I turn those into hot tea, and then I head straight back out as soon as I can.
Nice. Could you tell me a little about Steeder's look?
He's if you gave him a good bath and a haircut, I think what would emerge out of there is a kind of skinny mid-20s guy.
Okay.
But he looks a little more like that creature from Labyrinth, just kind of a moving pile of stuff. One of his pieces of gear is a 10-foot pole, and he's kind of got that tied onto his back like a samurai flag, except he's using it to keep giant piles of half-full backpacks in a sort of more or less stable configuration out of the water and the mud. So he's got big old leather waders come up to his chest. That's his leather armor.
Nice.
And a half cloak with a hood that he can button up around his face to keep brambles away. And then dangling above it all, when he's walking, is this, the top 6 feet of his 10-foot pole, and whatever he's got tied onto the top of that to keep it out of the water.
Yes. All right. So Yon is in bed. Steeder and Raven as Robert are near the market. Brita, you're sort of making rounds. The center of town, not the outlying farms, is not that big. Not the estates and outlying farms are not that big. So I'm assuming you won't be too far from the market right now. Maybe walking by.
Yeah, I'm almost certainly walking through there if there's.
That is indeed where lots of people are.
Yeah.
And I think that is, Galleon, you have now established all that we have discussed before, that Talon is missing, that Talon is left, all of Talon's things are gone except for the Codex. Talon, what do you do? I'm sorry, Galleon, what do you do?
I'm baffled and, somewhat flustered, at least as flustered as I allow myself to get. And basically, as soon as I collect my wits and realize it's so weird that my brother Monk is missing, and that I overslept. I haven't overslept in at least 7 years. So something is badly awry, and basically I leave my room in some consternation.
And where are you staying? Are you and Talon at the inn?
Yeah, we're at the inn.
Okay.
Again, our plan is not. This is not our destination. We're passing through. So I'm sure I go to the innkeep and ask them if they saw anything, if they saw my companion leave, or if they knew where he had gone.
The innkeep sort of winks at you and it's just like, sleeping late today. Yes, your friends upstairs still?
No, I don't. No, I don't know where Talon is. Have you seen him? He's not in our rooms.
Well, I don't watch the doors. I've not seen anyone come or go from upstairs. The witch is still up there. And then everybody else, well, it's a hot summer day. It's hard to sleep in. It's maybe, but I've not seen much of anything. But good for you for getting some rest. And so the innkeep has seen nothing.
Okay.
But maybe, people who come through people who come through Go Bridge, they, you know, may want an opportunity to relax, have some fun. Took a walk.
My audio is breaking up. I can't tell if you're finished talking or not.
Yeah, no, he's just like, yeah, relax, have some fun, break a walk, you know, breaks him up. He's not seen anything, but he's just suggesting that Talon just sort of wandered off, you know, to do something completely innocent. So yeah, what do you do at that point?
I'm sorry. My audio keeps cutting out.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I don't.
What do you do at that point?
With it. Basically, I think I'm going to go looking for Brita. See if she Talon.
Brita, you're in the market. You've been asking questions around town. What are you trying to learn, and what are you doing to learn it?
Let's see. Well, we know that Meg was rescued from Swinford, right?
Right.
So I presume at this point I tracked down whoever had her, you know, took her in, and they gave me some answer about why she's not around. What was that, OGM? I'm looking towards you, wondering what happens next.
They said that one morning they just came in and Meg's window was open, and it looked like she had crawled out. It actually looked like she had crawled out, crawled back in, and then crawled back out because there was mud all over the room.
Okay. In that case, what I'm doing is two things. First, anybody that's coming from the north, I want to just stop them and ask if they've seen a girl. And second, I'll probably be looking for Steeder at some point.
All right, nice. I think it sounds like you're trying to discern realities and talking to people from the north a bit.
Oh dear. That's int, right?
That is whiz.
Oh,
I'm
whiz.
sorry. I'm thinking of yeah. You're trying to discern realities.
Yep. Discern. Yep. Okay, whiz. Cool. 7, 8. So not awesome, but not bad.
Ask me one of those questions.
I'll go with what happened here recently.
They nod and just like, oh, you're looking for a young girl, and you know, these people, they, you know, everybody, every now and then lately, there's just a rash of people just going off into the swamp, and not, you know, they get swamp charmed, especially, you know, once they've been wandering in the swamp, they get swamp charmed, and sometimes people just can't say no. They hear the call of the swamp, and they go off. They go off, and, you know, she was from that village that almost sank, and, you know, anybody who wanders the swamp too long, sometimes it just calls back to you. And it makes you want to answer it.
Well, that's not ominous in the slightest bit. Okay. That's terrible. Do I see Galleon at this point?
I think you see Galleon.
Oh, good.
And you also said Steeder. And I think, Jon, you were about to say something?
Yeah, just mechanically, and I think Steeder would know this because he and I know each other. I have a move called Divination, so if anybody wanted to seek my insight into this, I could probably give you some information about potentially what happened or where either of these people have gone off to.
That's excellent, quite excellent.
Well, how about I bring everyone together by grabbing one of my cups of tea and running up to any of the people who are coming out of the inn and sort of looking around, either Brito or Galleon, and saying, "My holy friend, a little warm beverage to chase away the night fogs in your brain."
And Brita, I don't know how used to the slough you are, but it's at least 85, and it's 85 down to the bone. And it would be helpful if the sweat was evaporating off your brow instead of just constantly condensing onto it. So you've just been offered a hot drink.
Well, obviously, there's only one answer. Thank you, Steeder. I would enjoy a beverage. Thank you.
You look concerned. Is everything all right?
And I think Galleon, you're there as well.
Good morning, Preceptor.
And I think Raven is not too far away. As Robert.
I mean, I have expressed my concern. I asked Brita, whether she had seen Talon, and when she hadn't, I explained the unusual circumstances of his disappearance and how baffling I found it.
Nice. I'm just going to quickly ask Raven, what has drawn you into this conversation?
Yeah, so like my real reasons for doing things is looking for leads on the missing person I'm looking for.
Right.
So like this sounds potentially like a lead. So I'm probably
we seem to have a missing persons epidemic.
Exactly.
Right. And remind me, because I'm flipping through. Who was the missing person you were looking for?
I have not mentioned yet.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, like a loved one, like.
Oh, that's right. You had the loved one who is the one who told you about Swineford and got you to come up here.
Yes.
So people going missing in the swamp. This new rumor that people just sometimes take off, or have been taking off just lately, and going into the swamp because they hear the call of the swamp. Swamp is speaking to them.
I find this highly difficult. He's not just anyone. I mean, he is a trained and he has a disciplined mind. I know him.
Preceptor, temptation can fall to any of us. However, I have met your Talon, and he seemed a brave and honorable man. This seems very strange to me. Steeder, do you know anything of these matters?
Well, I've been wandering in the swamp since I was but a wee lad, and never heard none of this calling, but there are things in the swamp, wily, persuasive things, and they might seek out folks like your colleague, or they might come through a window all covered in mud to convince a young girl to follow them out. But you know what's the best way to find things in the swamp is my good and personal friend Yoni. She and I have worked together many times to track down lost items, and she has a strange affinity with locations, you might say.
The witch.
Well, I look a little bashful, like I've just realized who I'm talking to, and I'm trying to extricate myself from an awkward conversation. And I say, yes, but a good witch, a good witch. I think she can help. Maybe she can help.
There were wise women in my people. They were respected. They did not have millipedes, though. This is a strange custom to me.
Those are actually a fascinating species from our very local swamp.
No doubt.
Valiant.
Yes.
Last night, as you were speaking to Talon before bed, or getting ready to sleep, you noticed either a strange mark or a strange sigil on Talon's body. Was it on his hand, his foot, or his neck?
I think it was on the nape of his neck.
And what did it look like?
I don't know what it looked like. I mean, it looked like some sort of letter or hieroglyph or something, but it wasn't anything that I recognized. In fact,
And it was sort of like
it's actually hard for me to remember what it looked like. Its image in my mind keeps changing.
You notice almost where in almost the same spot, but not nearly as precisely formed, as if something is keeping it. Something is marred it, like a marred character of some sort, but almost in the same spot, looking somewhat different. On Brida's neck, much a similar, something that reminds you of it, though it's decidedly different. You can't remember what was on Talon's neck, but you know it was not this. But it's a mark in the same position. As you discuss going to see the witch, do you mention that to Brita?
Yeah, I think I say, Brita, I hadn't noticed this before, but there's, you have some sort of tattoo or something on your neck. What's that all about?
Was that there before, Richard?
You don't remember. I don't think you remember anything like that.
Can I perceive it on my neck?
If it's on the nape of your neck, that might be difficult.
Yeah, it's right there, sort of right behind where you're.
I know of no mark. That seems strange to me. I did not sleep last night either.
Raven, you've been told that the witch may know something. What are you doing? What are you doing now? Steeder has told you about this. Anything you're suggesting to the group?
Yeah, I think I'm going to encourage them all. Like this could be very important. Like, if the witch can help with this, like, I'm gonna have to insist. Like, I think you should all pursue this. Yeah.
Are any of you hesitant to go see the witch?
Have I had a chance to form an opinion about Yon yet?
Yon, what do you think?
I don't think we've probably had too many interactions, so I think maybe she just knows more of me than she knows me. So probably just based on kind of hearsay and rumor about town, which is maybe not always favorable.
That seems about right. So yeah, I might have some trepidation because I don't know this kind of magic.
You do see through lies, though.
Uh-huh.
It is nearly impossible for someone to deliberately deceive you if you were asking or inquiring.
Well, that's my power. That's my curse.
I'd like to, unless somebody has objections, move the scene to Wakening Yon, or going to see Yon. Is that cool?
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
That sounds great. I'll explain to everyone that Mistress Yon likes to sleep in, and we'll go up there and we'll just take a couple of these pastries here, and Steeder sort of flies into a small frenzy of trying to get a bunch of cool things to push in front of him into the room so that Yon sees them first. And so by the time that we're off to go see her, it's like, hot breads and beverage and stuff.
So it sounds, Yon, like Steeder is bringing you. And Steeder, you have coin on you, right?
I guess I didn't look it up on the character sheet yet, but I figured if he's done a couple of loads of small sales in the market already, he'll have whatever pennies he would have gotten from those trades.
Pop you to 11, but this is going to, and we can fix that if it turns out you'd have more. But I'd like you to roll with int.
Okay.
Or sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Roll with charisma.
I have a 7.
Okay. So they're either stale or they're going to cost you a little bit more to get the stuff that Young. What's the way to your heart in terms of people bringing things to eat?
Yeah, pastries.
Pastry,
sugary pastry. Sugar is a precious commodity. So anything
right
resembling a cupcake or a pastry would be ideal.
So what they initially put in front of you, the innkeep, the helpful innkeep, is a sour fried bread that's sort of just been refried without with some butter and oil, but not any egg or definitely nothing sweet. They can do better, but you're going to need to pay more. Are you going to pay more?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm confident that I'll recoup anything that I invest here.
All right, so I'm going to drop you down a few coins. So yeah, Yon, you wake up to Steeder at the door with it's still the sour fried bread they make here at the end, but it's sort of been soaked in sort of this sweet sap honey egg batter.
Yeah, that sounds all right, actually.
And served with fruit and with some tea. Hot breakfast on a warm day, but
It's all right.
Get you all into Yon's. Yon, are you coming out? Or are they coming into your room?
No, I think I'll just kind of sit up in bed, and I see Steeder, and you know we're old friends, and I just sort of I see the tray of pastry and coffee or whatever in his hand, and I kind of motion him in, and you know he waits for me to have a few bites and a few drinks of coffee. Like Steeder,
kind of hopping nervously from foot to
yeah,
foot.
I assume that this tray of food is not just a token of our friendship. What do you need from me?
Well, the tray itself is a token of our friendship, but the timing maybe is a token of our close business relationship, because I have not one, not two, but I think 3 sets of people who lost someone last night. They're waiting outside, and I said to them that you're the person to talk to about divinations. So I think if you're ready, and once you've had a couple of bites, I'll send them in, and we'll see if they've got anything interesting to say to you.
Am I doing this for you or doing this for them?
Oh, I figured you'd be doing it for yourself, friend. I just want to connect you to people who want your services, and I'm sure that when you tell them where we need to go, they'll be looking for someone to physically walk them over there, and that's when I can hit them up.
I will accept this breakfast as partial payment, and the potential for coin in the future as further payments. I've never known you to let me down, so send them in.
Will do. Mistress Yon is ready for you.
Okay, I come striding in. Good morning, mistress. My name is Breda Hamnesdotter.
Good morning, Breda.
I have a mystery that I am trying to solve, but the first mystery is apparently someone has inflicted a sigil upon my back, the back of my neck. I suspect this must only have been done by witchery, not your witchery necessarily. I hope not.
I know nothing of the sigil upon your back, but I may be able to give you some information about it.
That would be most helpful.
Just to paint the picture, Galleon and Raven, are you going in with Breda, or are you staying outside?
I'm going in.
Okay. And Raven, what about you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Raven is definitely making her way in.
Perhaps you know the emissary and my colleague, the Preceptor.
Good morning. Were I a different type of woman, I might be worried what the townsfolk would think with me having so many people in my bedchamber at once.
I pause, think, then shake my head. That is immaterial.
So three of you are missing someone, and one of you has a sigil. Last night sounds like a strange evening.
Well, I am seeking the girl Meg, but I will let the Preceptor explain his missing person. It is not my tale to tell.
I think what I'd like to know is rather than going through the whole story, Galleon, what, if anything, are you leaving out?
What am I leaving out in my recounting to?
Yeah, if anything, are you being entirely truthful?
I mean, I don't think that I have any particular reason to hide anything. I'm just genuinely concerned.
Nice. Okay. Raven.
I'm skeptical of witches, although I'm visibly relieved that this is not the dirty and disreputable looking kind, although I have my questions about her seeming signs of excess.
Raven, What, if anything, are you leaving out as you describe your missing loved one? And that's if you're leaving out anything.
I actually don't think. I don't think I'm actually saying anything about them. I think I'm pretending that this is purely like an investigation of these missing people, like for my office.
Not involving your loved ones at all. Nice. Okay.
No, yeah, that's under lock and key.
And is there anything you know about Meg that you'd hold back from saying to Yon?
No, I'm under oath not to.
All right. Yon, you know that two people are missing. One has been missing for some time, and one has been missing since last night. And of course, Brita has a strange sign on her neck. What are you doing?
I'm just sitting and taking all this in. I'm guessing they're kind of going in turn, describing the situation, maybe interrupting one another. And at one point, I'm just like, I am not a book to be opened and read. You have come here to ask me questions, so ask. Mechanically, I can ask you a question.
Okay.
And if I only want a yes or no response, I take +1 to the roll.
Okay.
If I have an object from the person, place, or thing that the question is about, that is an additional +1. And on a 10+, I can ask a follow-up question. So I think.
And what do your divinations look like?
Yeah, so it's so my familiar communicates with me like when it's like crawling around my body. The feeling of its little legs on my skin is how I communicate with it, and so it is tapping into something that I'm not even really aware of what it's doing, and it's providing me with information.
So is it almost like between the movement of its legs you hear the answer you're looking for?
It's actually it would be like almost like Braille, like the
right,
pattern,
okay.
The pattern of the legs on the skin is what I read.
Okay.
And then out of character, I would just say to the group, like, what is the specific question that you seek? Maybe a question that ties the missing people together for now, because I think that would probably be the easiest.
It might have to go deeper if and be a little more risky if not. But let's go with that. Can you form a single question about both cases, or do you need to ask 2 questions?
I think a first question would be, are these disappearances related?
Okay. So that's a yes or no question, and then in character, does anyone have an object which belongs to anything which belongs to the missing people?
I have that codex.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's quite reasonable that you would have something of Meg's, having talked to her parents, or having talked to the family who took her in.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the one thing that was left that did not go with her?
The hair ribbon they gave her. It was the only nice piece of clothing she had.
So was the hair ribbon the local P family gave her?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was hers.
But it was hers.
Tied it on as a favor.
So repeat the question is, are these two related? Is that correct? Or is it, how are these two related?
I think we start with are they, so that it would be yes or no.
Okay, I can do that. So hand me the items. So I sit. It's actually nothing really special. I don't like assume the lotus position or anything, but I take the 2 items and just kind of sit with them and stare at them. And then again, my millipede starts crawling across my body and then over the items and like back across my body. And oops. 9 plus 2, 11.
Nice.
So on a 10 plus, answer the question, and then on the 10 plus, I get a follow-up question. I'm going to assume it doesn't specify, but if it's a yes or no question, I have to assume the follow-up question is also yes or no.
I think that's if they want us to assume something restrictive, it's their job to tell us. So I'm gonna say that your follow-up question is your question to decide what it is.
Okay. So are these disappearances related?
Yes, they are related.
So I'm gonna. Are they?
You also the word related, which we will assume is in this whatever language you're speaking, whatever language you're hearing in, are equally related. Kind of comes across strangely to you, like it has multiple meanings or multiple layers of meaning. The word related.
Interesting. Like while I'm kind of still in my stupor, I think I'll answer the party and see if they can formulate a follow-up question. So
Okay.
Without kind of breaking this like trance-like state, they are related.
And I think the millipede is at this point wrapped around sort of almost on your face. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, seems good.
When you shudder in fear.
So what do you mechanically? What would your follow-up question be? I think you would kind of get the impression that like I'm in this stupor and I'm like maybe I haven't broken out of it, so I'm awaiting like more input from you.
I would definitely want to know something about this mark since it's related to talons. So
Okay.
can somebody fill in a question about that? You think, or
What is the meaning of these marks?
Hey, there you go. Yep.
If we're getting a freebie non-yes or no question.
Yep.
Okay, sure. Yeah. What is the significance of the marks?
You hear, I think, in your head as you're they're marks of favor, that they indicate a debt owed. So one of them is malformed. It could not be imprinted.
Yeah, I think those words kind of come out of me. Favor, debt. One is wrong, malformed, not.
As if it's not binding.
Not binding.
I know of no debt that I owe. Do you know of any debt Talon owed, Brother Galleon?
Just the debt of his loyalty to our order.
I had not thought of that as a debt.
You know that Talion often wandered the swamps, or Talon was a great lover of nature, I think. Does that sound about right? And so,
Sounds good.
Passing through areas, Talon was prone to getting somewhere early and then taking walks. And Rita, you received help. So your memories of it are, I think, hazy from what you said.
They were definitely hazy about that hand that reached up out of the swamp. And of course, the mysterious hermit who vanished. But yeah, I know a lot of legends. I know mysterious hermits always vanish.
I think we should ask another divination question. I mean, it seems like the obvious question is we need to know where we can find these missing people, how we can find them.
Can I deal with like runes and marks a lot. Can I take a look at the the mark on Breda and see if I recognize it from anywhere?
I feel like, yeah, you'll be spouting lore as you do. Does that sound about right?
Sounds good.
I'd like you to roll with intelligence then.
Okay. So that is going to be a 7.
A 7?
Oh, well, an 8. On a miss, well, I guess that's not a miss. It's a partial. On a miss, my millipede will seek out the answer for me. At the cost of some vitality, at the cost of some of my health.
Oh,
so
well.
I'll let you adjudicate whether that represents a miss or.
Yeah, I don't think that's a miss yet. But I will. I'll tell you something interesting and potentially useful. It looks almost like a signet ring.
Like the imprint of a signet ring, like someone would press it in your
like
flesh?
The imprint of a signet ring.
Interesting.
But it looks halfway like the imprint of a signet ring, and it looks like some sort of temporary tattoo or painting like you might get at a festival, but one that is old and has started to run. And you're reminded of the words that it did not bind.
Yeah, so Breda, where is it on her body?
It is on the nape of the neck.
Okay, yeah. So as I'm looking at it, maybe running my fingers over it, I'm like, this is yours is the one that did not bind. This is not a clear impression. I don't know what it means, but it appears to be as if it were an icon or a monogram on your neck here.
Perhaps I was spared, though not worthy.
You do know you were looking for Maggie.
I think it could be safe to assume that Maggie must have had a similar symbol on her. Well, perhaps not safe, but it is a reasonable assumption.
The other missing person, Talon, they had this mark as well?
It was... I will tell you right now, you think your familiar can find out more about this, but it will cost you. Let me, that's yeah. Well, you think your familiar can find out more, but it will cost you. Also, Galleon. This is the mark that was not the mark that was on the nape of Talon's neck. It was somewhat different, but that description of like signet ring sort of rings a bell. If you want to sort of like reflect on that a bit, let me know.
I'll take the damage to get more information.
Okay, and I will also say that I think that takes a little time narratively.
Okay.
Because I think your familiar needs to leave your side.
Okay. Does it take the damage now or when it returns with the information?
You'll take the damage now.
Okay.
Because it needs your blood to travel.
Yeah, and I like the idea that like I'm so bonded to it that anytime it leaves my side, it wounds me a little bit to have it away from me.
I was thinking it wounds you a little bit to have it away from you. Also, it needs to take a bit of you with it in order to move around.
Oh, yeah, cool.
It's less that it's consuming you, and more that it has to remove a bit of you to travel apart from you.
I like it.
Raven, this all sounds like that letter from your loved one. There's something about like a mark on the back of their hand.
Perfect. Well, not perfect, but
and we're getting close to end time. You've just gotten this information, and I know what you're doing, Yon. Rita, Galleon, Raven, are you contemplating, or is there an action you're ready to take?
I think
I have an action to suggest.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Steeder is a person who makes a living taking things away from the swamp. And as this conversation is happening, he's racking his brains about anything like rumors of fey bargains or places where you're not allowed to pick flowers or look at a certain tree or any superstitions about things you might do that might be construed as you taking something you're not entitled to, that would somehow single you out for attention, like you've got to, go and dance with the fairies for 7 years or anything like that. Can I think of any superstitions like that in this area?
It sounds like you're sort of spouting lore, Steeder.
I would love to spout some lore.
I'd like you to go ahead and roll that and then hold it. I just want to check in really quickly with the 3 people who've just gotten news. Is there anything? Are there any moves, declarations, actions that you're taking?
My suggestion was going to be to ask Steeder to take us out into the swamp and see if we could track anything down.
Okay.
So it sounds like Steeder and I are more or less on the same page on this.
Galleon,
I, of course, will never say anything about payment because people should just do the right thing. So,
Galleon, anything special you want to shout out that you're doing? Same question to Raven.
I apologize. I dropped from the
That's
call.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. If you want to,
I didn't hear like whatever the last thing was that happened. It seems like there was some sort of reveal.
So what was the last thing you did hear?
The last thing that I heard was the spout lore about the sigils on the people's necks.
So you knew that they were different, but they were.
Yes.
You were told they were related.
Yeah.
And something about that notion of a signet ring seems compelling to you, or tickles the back of your head.
Okay.
Steeder's about to spout some lore, but I was just wanted to check in on anybody else if there was sort of closing bit of information or action that you wanted to pursue.
I think Raven is very much on board with this idea. I don't have anything mechanically I want to do.
Okay.
But I would imagine
Action-wise.
him getting supplies, like pulling strings, giving merchants
snap into action.
Yeah.
All right. Galleon?
Well, the circumstances of what happened to Talon were strange. And also the fact that I slept in was strange. I was wondering if I could get sort of sense of what has come over me and why do I have this tickling familiarity with the idea of these sigils.
So Steeder is about to spout lore. I'd like you to discern reality by sort of trying to think hard. Does that make sense?
Or yeah, just get a sense of what's going on.
Right. You're sort of puzzling things out in your head.
But it's about my own experience. Like what is affecting me right now?
Right.
Like where does this feeling coming from?
So I think you're closely examining it. So in a sense, you're closely examining a situation that you've already encountered.
Yeah.
You're sort of picking through your memories.
Yeah.
Steeder, you're about to consult your accumulated knowledge of things in the swamp. So let's start with your role, which I think have you already got a chance to make it, or?
Yes, I have an 8.
An 8.
Mm-hmm.
The swamp,
well, they do say
the swamp is not really the domain of Fae, but it is the domain of powers. And powers, just in the loose, grand sense of powers are prone to asserting that anything they've done for you infers a debt.
now
So on a 7 to 8.
what kind of thing might someone do for a wandering, nature-hungry cleric and a little girl asleep in her bed?
And a paladin.
Yes.
Galleon, you were looking at that memory of yours, picking through the events of last night. Have you made that roll yet?
Just doing it. 9. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I rolled a 9.
9. So ask me one question.
What here is not as it seems to be?
I'm not. I'm thinking for just a second. I realized that. No, I don't want anybody to think I'm on mute or.
Is that too hard of a question given this context? Do you want me to?
No, it's actually I've got an obvious answer. I just kind of want to give it to you in narrative. And so I'm trying to connect to the narrative. And I will tell you 2 things. And try to fit them in. But Talon was very reserved when coming in from his nature walk last night, and was actually late. Not terribly late, not absurdly late. And then said something about getting lost. But finding his way back. Definitely found my way back. And I will leave us, I think, with this. Robert, the village official, seems oddly and personally intrigued. Does that all seem fair?
It does.
So as you stand up on this proposed trip into the swamp, what is the one thing that's on your mind as far as what you need to do and what you want to accomplish, just in a few words? And I'll start with Steeder. So as we're cutting the scene, what's the look on Steeder's face tells us what?
He's wondering what kind of torturous legal logic you would have to go through to consider an entire army as having been lost all at once and requiring your assistance.
Nice. Rita.
I am conscious that I must, in fact, owe a debt. Probably berating myself for not realizing that and doing something about it, and then slowly wondering what exactly the price is going to be.
And yet you've been told that you're not bound by this debt.
I'm not bound magically by this debt. I have a debt I must repay. I mean, if it's an honestly given and debt, I honestly accepted it. So,
all right. Galleon, as the camera pans past your face, what is the audience certain that Galleon is thinking?
He is. He finds this all very strange, and he doesn't like things that rattle the serenity of his mind. Dispassion is one of the key precepts of his practice, and he feels like he's not quite as in control of his mental state right now as he would like to be. All this has gotten to him, and he really would like to be able to shake it off.
Yon, you've done your work. Why are you contemplating going with these people?
I have always wanted to learn. I know that the snake people have this extremely secretive knowledge of thaumaturgy and apothecary, this knowledge that I've always wanted to find out more about, but it's always been too dangerous. But now that I have a party of people with me, that's something I would like to try to gain more information from.
And Raven, you were closer than you've ever been to finding out what became of your loved one. What about them are you remembering? What's the, if we flash to if looking in your eyes as the camera faded out, we had a quick flashback, what would be in that quick 5-second flashback of you in your unmasked face and this loved one?
Yeah, I think what's going through their mind is yeah, so he's like excited in this moment, about to like get off on the trail and like follow a lead. And I think thinking about them, would just like remember how like eager they always were for these sort of adventures, no matter what it was, they were always keen, gung-ho, and like knew how to plan everything expertly. So yeah, just like kind of admiration and like thinking back on that.
And during that flashback, we learn one visual detail about your loved one. What is it?
Visual detail.
Hair color.
Sure.
Tone of voice and accent. Something that you're picking up.
Sure.
If you're having this flashback of your last early or a previous interaction with your loved one.
Yeah, like
about their excitement about exploring the swamp.
Yeah, like a giddy laugh, like a
childish, delighted, is more knowing. Which one would you call it?
No, like delighted, like
okay,
like a lot of glee, I guess.
All right. Thank you all. I'm really looking forward to next week. I'm going to end the broadcast, and then we'll do a real quick round of stars and wishes, and you're off for the rest of the night. I usually aim for 3 to 3.5 hours for any given session. If anybody needs to split before we do stars and wishes, I will completely understand. I know some people are up crazy early in time zones, so I will completely understand if you need to slip away. But thank you all. Thanks to the audience at home, and I hope you'll join us next week.